Welcome everyone to the HFS Hot Vendor Fireside videocast. So just a bit of context around why that Fireside videocast. So the HFS OneOffice Hot Vendor is an exclusive group of emerging players, each with a very differentiated value proposition for our HFS OneOffice Framework. So we regularly speak with numerous exciting startups and emerging players, and we designate a select group of HFS Hot Vendor based on really what their distinctiveness, their ecosystem robustness, their client impact, but more importantly, really their alignment to our vision, the HFS OneOffice Framework. We firmly believe in HFS that each of these vendors have a unique vision and strategy that impact and will probably disrupt the market. So on that occasion, we are going to go deeper with a video cast with one of the people behind those winning visions. This episode features David Berliner, Director of Security Strategy in SimSpace Corporation. Very excited to have you in that video cast, David. We're gonna start probably first around a quick introduction on your role, what you do in SimSpace, but I would say more importantly, the million-dollar question around what value proposition you are trying to bring to the market with your platform and pretty much your environment that you're trying to deploy in enterprise clients. So over to you, David.
Great, thank you, and thanks so much for having me and for including SimSpace as a HFS Hot Vendor. We're honored. SimSpace was founded about 6 years ago by our CEO, William Hutchison, and CTO, Lee Rossi. They realized the challenge that was out there in the industry. There are an incredible number of cybersecurity products out there, cybersecurity services, and yet organizations weren't necessarily becoming safer. And Hutch comes out of the Air Force. Along the way, also worked at US Cyber Command. And in the Air Force, they learned something many years ago around the survival rates of pilots. They saw that after about the 10th mission, the survival rate of Air Force pilots went up dramatically. And so they worked and changed their training program to give them that hands-on experience sooner, ideally before they really saw true combat. But they tried to recreate that experience, that intensity, earlier in their training process. Hutch realized that that same concept could be applied to cybersecurity, and so has really worked to create a company that aims to make people better at identifying, mitigating, and managing cybersecurity risks. And so with that in mind, he has put together SimSpace, our company, built on the core technology of a cyber range to help address a few problems that we see out there in the industry that underlie this need to shift left the preparedness for cybersecurity threats. These include challenges such as the skills gap out there, the fact that there isn't enough talent to go around. It's very hard to hire and retain good cybersecurity employees. The fact that organizations are rolling out new technologies, changes to their production systems without fully recognizing what are the security implications and making sure they are well prepared and without the proper controls in place. Ralph, I believe HFS has done some research around some of these threats. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this definitely resonates with our findings and observations. So we did a survey with cybersecurity executives, around 150, also with qualitative interview to understand what were what factors really were the biggest contributors to security events in the organization, and what they've experienced really in the last 2 years. And funny enough, the number one by far, roughly 47% of cyber executives mentioned that the key factor was the inability of security functions, risk and compliance oversight functions in general, yeah, the inability to actually be in the initial stage of IT deployments. And what they found out is that really what has contributed the most is new IT initiatives, obviously very big one considering the recent investments, being implemented without proper security oversight. And then obviously this contributes, well, at least from a foundational perspective, you're putting products in production, already knowing that they don't have what they call the security by design,
right.
in there. So I think everyone is very much aware and try to do quite a lot around security by design principles, but operationalization of that security by design, when you talk about large scale, large enterprises, it's not easy, and clearly we've seen this as this was really the main issue why then they experience so many security events, and this has a cascading effect on other factors. Obviously, if you promote new IT initiatives, implement them without that initial cybersecurity review or risk review, risk readiness, well, down the line, you start having people operating system and start actually making mistakes. I'm not saying legitimate mistakes, but just the fact that you don't have the appropriate controls, well, you're not really running operation following standard procedures with the appropriate controls in there. So you start even more messing around because now there is a solution in production, but the team is not really prepared to run the solution from a security perspective. And from security, it's from configuration up to monitoring, and definitely resonates. So I think what you mentioned here around readiness and security being really at the forefront of running and implementing those IT initiatives, I think that's pretty much spot on,
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we've noticed is we believe part of why it is so hard for organizations to make that upfront security investment alongside their IT investments and fully think through the security implications of new IT projects is that the process of gaining that risk understanding is too hard. They're incredibly stretched thin, and understandably so. And so with SimSpace's technology, our services, we aim to help organizations better get a understanding of where that risk lies in a quicker fashion and in a more relevant fashion, and therefore enable them to make those correct investments strategically alongside these big IT initiatives.
Absolutely. So just, I mean, I know you mentioned cyber ranges.
Yes.
I think just for the audience, I think, I mean, not many people are very familiar really with what cyber ranges are, and if you can just really explain quickly really what cyber range are, what's really the purpose. I know that one of the biggest problem really right now we see and CISOs are trying really to solve with cyber ranges they keep mentioning the skill shortage, and really what I think the intention of buying a cyber range platform is pretty much to address that skill shortage, by providing really an immersive environment to help continuously train, upskill the cybersecurity team. But if you
absolutely
give me just a bit of high-level definition around that.
Certainly, yeah. Upskilling a team is definitely one of the main use cases for a cyber range. The fundamental concept of a cyber range is to create a safe and isolated replica of your production environment where you can do things such as you mentioned, Ralph, upskill your team and your individuals, as well as help you evaluate your cybersecurity technologies and understand your broader cyber risk. The core foundation of a cyber range is that replica of your production systems. It uses virtualization to create replicas of your laptops and servers and your cloud infrastructure, as well as potentially your IT, IoT, and ICS parts of your environment. Really show your full production systems. Typically, that's where that layer ends for most cyber ranges. With SimSpace, we also allow you to connect external hardware that may be difficult to replicate in a virtual machine if there's very specialized equipment for your industry, and tie that into the range as well. And then on top of that, we allow you to bring in your cybersecurity technologies, your EDR, your firewalls and networking systems, to make sure that your team is using your defense in depth technologies as they would in production. And then all of that is brought to life in the emulation layer. We emulate users, so effectively introducing bots that look and act like your employees and customers, and pair that also with emulation of attackers to simulate the stimuli that your people and your cybersecurity technologies need to respond to. And then on top of that is, of course, the user interface, where your defensive teams, your offensive teams can work together or against one another in this safe and isolated context.
Right. And just maybe if you around the automation you bring, yeah. I mean, I know that we covered during the hot vendor reports, really the automation side and really the extensive and complex cyber range scenarios you bring.
Yep.
In the platform. Can you just elaborate on this one a bit more?
Definitely. Yeah. So there are a couple of principles that we try to follow as we have implemented our range technology. One of them is around automation, and the other is around building a platform. So on the automation side, each part of it, from that operational layer of the virtual machines through to the emulated users and attacks, and even in the way that we handle the actual people who participate in this ecosystem, there's automation. So we make it easy for you to spin up a range that you've created. It takes a matter of minutes, and then you're able to just get going. What that means is that, let's say you want to run some real malware or really see what would happen if you destroy or disrupt some of your systems, you can do so, wipe away that instance of the range, and then spin a new one up in minutes. Can't do that in production. At the emulation layer, we automate the behaviors of both users and attackers to give you that vibrant ecosystem of noise and threat. And then at the user layer, we automate a lot of the data collection for what is the red team or blue team doing, enabling you to see a fuller picture and not have to be looking over the shoulder of each participant. And then each of those layers is also built for supporting a broader ecosystem. We have a ton of content in each of those layers ourselves, the virtual machines that we support, the emulated behaviors and attacks, but we also support third-party content that can be brought into our platform to make it a richer ecosystem.
And let's maybe move on around really what makes SimSpace different, yeah. So sure. If you just can summarize really quick snapshot, really what differentiates you from other, cyber range platform, and we know that there are quite, start to get kind of a lot of emerging players in that environment. So really, what makes you different?
Absolutely, and we're encouraged that this field is growing. We think there's a huge amount of value for organizations in using a cyber range. Obviously, we'd prefer it if it was from us. And so we've invested in a few things that help us stand out. The first, as we were touching on a moment ago, is around fidelity. Having your actual production systems, both in the IT infrastructure and in your cybersecurity stack, having realistic attacks and user activity. So all of that makes for a setup where you can make sure that the lessons you're getting out of it are relevant, not just generically, but for your particular company, your particular environment. I firmly believe that there are different needs depending on the industry, depending on the threat landscape, depending on your technologies. And so that fidelity helps make sure that the time you're investing in using a cyber range gets you the greatest results, the most relevant results. As I mentioned, we also have this flexible ecosystem with a number of partnerships that bring in training content into our learning management system, automated attacks from other vendors to provide richer variety of stimuli for from a threat perspective, and other ways that we enable our customers to get access to a richer set of content. As we also talked about before, the automation, particularly of results, helps streamline that experience. But then the other factors are around making it convenient. So we have an incredibly high degree of scale. Some of our ranges span into the thousands or tens of thousands of machines. And so that means that we are able to help our customers from small SMBs all the way up through big government installations, and do so with a high fidelity environment, a high performance environment. And then it's available on demand. You don't need to bring a truck of servers. It can be available via our cloud platform or installed into your environment.
Great. And you mentioned around the option, around the SimSpace Cyber Range. Is it available as a hosted service, or also as in the cloud? I mean, what option you give your customer around deployments?
Yeah, so there are three main ways that we deploy. Most of our customers use our cloud option, which SimSpace hosts ourselves in our data center. And it's just available on demand like any other cloud-based platform. You don't have to worry about the infrastructure. We also, for our customers who want a little bit more control, we can give them the ability to deploy that on-premise. And we even have an appliance that comes with our technology pre-installed if you want to cut out worrying about the hardware and just have us ship you a box.
And tell us more about your customer base. Is it really right now public sector? I assume large banking financial institution, which were actually probably were the first really to adopt those kind of platform, giving the criticality of their operation, or are you also start moving wide across other sectors?
Great question. So yeah, you're right that I think part of why maybe some in your audience aren't incredibly familiar with cyber ranges is that for a long time they were primarily used by government, the military, and the largest financial institutions. And we're fortunate to count a number of those among our customers, and we enjoy working with them. But we believe that with this new generation of cloud-based cyber range capabilities, that it really can serve any size and need of organization. So we have several customers that are much more in the small, medium business size, customers in academia, customers in other parts of the high tech or cybersecurity industries, insurance, et cetera. And they use this for a variety of use cases, depending on their goals, whether that be to up-level their team or help out improve their cyber risk, or even get evidence for the compliance needs that they need to fulfill.
Okay, well, thank you. So I think we got a good understanding around what you're trying to solve and really what differentiates you from your competitors. And now looking about, obviously, I know that you are doing a lot of product development, trying to enrich the platform by, I would say, moving away from pure cyber range focus to a way more holistic cyber risk management.
Right.
That includes not only cyber ranges, but also cyber readiness and ultimately really quantification of risk, which I think is a big hot topic. We've seen really a lot of investment going on or intention of investment from large companies around cyber risk quantification, cyber cyber training, cyber awareness, it's always a big part of it. It's not only about acquiring technology, yeah.
Right.
But I think more and more we see a lot of service providers, large service providers, adjusting their services and bringing this aspect of ability to quantify risk in any manner, but also the ability to understand risk exposure and more importantly, start working towards remediating any gaps, yeah, and through the use of not only platform, but people and processes, yeah. So maybe tell us about, I think your new environment, which goes beyond CyberRange. Yeah? I think CyberRange has been definitely your foundational element.
Sure. Yeah.
I think there is way more to CyberRange in SimSpace. Yeah.
Absolutely. So as you were mentioning, there is a broader need around cyber risk. And where we really see that coming from is cybersecurity is fundamentally a team sport. It's not something that can be siloed off to the side as just a technical discipline. I mean, we hear stories every day about different breaches that happened that really only took one person somewhere in the organization clicking the wrong link or even getting hired by a bad actor to provide access. And so to solve that, you need to fully engage the business ecosystem within your company. Most of the people, your peers outside of the cybersecurity team, aren't living day in and day out in cybersecurity and in the technology, but they should have a good understanding of risk. And so we want to help our customers be able to engage more fully with the stakeholders throughout their organization, their peers and other departments, their board and C-suite in that language of risk. And that's sort of the logic behind growing from this core concept of a cyber range into this broader cyber risk management platform. And so what that entails, what we're aiming for, our moonshot, as it were, is to create this platform that includes building on what I mentioned before of this open ecosystem, this marketplace of content that helps give a holistic picture of cyber risk, adding additional elements to our platform that take that information from the performance of your individuals, from the performance of your team, and from the performance of your technology together to help you get a better understanding of your risk exposure, as well as how that fits against compliance frameworks that you're working towards. It's also about evolving our business model to align with the needs of our customers, shifting more towards usage-based consumption to really fit with our customers' needs, making it easy for customers to access and use our platform regardless of how their IT infrastructure is set up. And then fundamentally bringing those pieces together along with help in areas such as understanding their cyber insurance needs and similar to ultimately give them security confidence, raise the degree to which they feel ready and prepared to respond to an incident.
Yeah, I think one of the key aspects really that we in HFS really saw in SimSpace is the ability to bring stakeholders together. Yeah, and I think that I would say is the biggest challenge in any company, having multiple stakeholders across multiple lines of defense. Yeah, it doesn't have to be first line of defense, security,
right.
Second line, risk and internal control functions, risk management, up even to, I would say, the third line, yeah, independent functions, being able also to jump in one platform and understanding really the readiness ultimately, right. of the teams in the ground, yeah, running operations.
Yeah.
And being able, I would say more importantly, to at the click of a button really quantify the risk exposure, I would say across areas or holistically across the company. Yeah? So I think that's quite, yeah.
I think it comes down to creating a close culture around cybersecurity that includes everyone in the organization, and even beyond the organization, making sure that your vendor partners, your external counsel, consultants, even customers are all feeling part of the ecosystem that surrounds the security of your organization. One of my favorite stories from an event that we hosted last summer was a government event, and it brought together participants from across the country and in fact across the world. And while there was, of course, incredible hands-on value in this simulated incident to practicing the security tools that they were doing and responding to an intelligent adversary, the even greater value was in sort of letting them know what resources they could rely on, who they could call inside their organization and outside their organization for assistance and support. And I think that not only applies obviously to government organizations, but to commercial ones or educational ones as well. So yeah, building that culture, I think, is really critical and something that a organization should invest in and make sure that they are.
And this also is very much aligned with what cybersecurity executive says in general. Yeah, when we asked them a few months ago, really, what do they think should be given priority, yeah, in order to build a cyber conscious culture, yeah, in cybersecurity conscious culture in the organization. Well, most of them pretty much were around more accountability, more process discipline, yeah. Sure. But the other aspect was around more tailored and engaging experiences. Yeah, I think the traditional approach around doing kind of simulation, which is periodic, yeah, at the point in time, and then next year you come back and you do another simulation. You just check the compliance box, yeah, right. and the training also, which are not engaging at all. I mean, yeah, I mean, in my previous experience, yeah, I was running security trainings, yeah, and level of engagement was pretty much -1, yeah. So, right. so I think people are not engaged, and definitely 35% really mention around the experiences, yeah, that they want really to invest in way more engaging, way more personalized training and learning, yeah, to make cybersecurity way more a business as usual activity rather than just point in time periodic exercise, yeah. And I think that the cyber range and your platform make the simulations and really the training as a continuous process rather than just a periodic one. Yeah?
Exactly. Our intention is to create both a technology and an ecosystem that our customers are using on an ongoing basis. There's great value in doing a specific learning event or exercise, no question. But that should then be paired with ongoing lessons or addressing the lessons you take from that exercise and doing more of an ongoing learning and development process. That's how you make it a habit rather than something that is done in sort of a pro forma manner.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember also you mentioned that part of the platform evolution also is also you mentioned around the ecosystem integration. I think also it's being able to embed within your platform or integrate at some point, yeah, direct access to training systems, yeah, that the company might have internally or externally, but being able to pretty much unify, yeah, and centralize in one environment the assessment, the readiness, the training required, and being able from one single platform also track and measure, yeah, the progress towards what good looks like, yeah.
Absolutely. I think if you look over the evolution that's happening in the cyber range space, long time ago, what that meant was a static range that you might get access to for a limited duration that was hosted by someone else. And you would either drive up to their center and bring your team for an in-person event, or in some cases, they would literally bring a truck over to you with the range inside it, and you would engage there. But it was time bound, it was generic. Since then, through vendors such as ourselves, that has evolved into being able to have on demand a range that can look like your environment. But we want to go one step further and make it even easier for our customers to replicate and keep updated their range environment, essentially being able to look at the assets that they have in their environment and auto-generate a realistic range for them rather than them having to tailor it themselves. And along with that, being able to then complete that loop of test out something in the range, apply it to production, something changes, whether that's a cybersecurity technology that you're working with has an update, or there's a patch you need to roll out, or you're changing something in your IT architecture, test that in the range, take the learnings from it, auto apply them to production, and creating this complete cycle of development, testing, implementation, validation. And then alongside that, as you mentioned, using this approach to bring together all of those pieces and really give you a full understanding of the piece of risk that's being addressed by your individuals, by how they work together as a team, the processes that they have in place, and then the technology that we apply. And that can give you a really good idea of your overall cyber readiness.
And I know that you've developed a proprietary automated attack scenario, yeah, what you call the craft framework, yeah. Is it your intention to keep developing the framework and adding more and more attack scenarios?
Absolutely. I mean, attackers are coming up with new approaches every day that we need to make sure our customers have access to. Although amusingly, some of the most recent headlines have come from fairly straightforward attacks. But even so, we want to make sure that we are staying up to date. And we're doing that in two ways. One is through supporting our own new attacks and continuing to add to our library of SimSpace created automated attacks, as well as making that approach or that platform open to other providers, so that we can bring in automated attacks from vendors in the breach and attack simulation space, in other related markets that also have automated attack libraries of their own, and form a more open ecosystem for that type of content. Not only will that give more variety, but it makes us more able to be a neutral platform that can help customers evaluate what they need for their particular environment.
Thank you. And I think I know you mentioned about the cyber risk management platform, yeah. But let's jump in and let's really summarize. I think you have a good way of really summarizing the evolution, yeah, from the initial core foundation cyber range platform up to really what you want to achieve. So I just have, if you just want to quickly cover around that slide and explain really the intention of, I would say, stage one, yeah, which was cyber platform.
Absolutely. So what we've built to date is the ability for customers to create a realistic clone or mirror of their production environment, and to use that for a whole variety of use cases. And regularly impressed and inspired with the creativity that our customers bring to applying this core cyber range technology to new and creative problems. And essentially, it is an open way to help solve a wide variety of different use cases. From there, though, we want to evolve into a broader cyber readiness platform. And so we've taken a couple of the most common use cases, the training of individuals and teams, and the evaluation of cybersecurity technologies and changes to your IT infrastructure, and work to streamline those experiences in our platform into a couple specific products, stack-wise on the technology side and skill-wise on the people and process side. And the idea here is just, we know how busy our customers are. We want, when they engage with the platform, it to be as seamless of an experience as possible. And then the vision where we're heading from here is this cyber risk management platform that creates more of a full loop of connecting to your production systems, creating those auto-generated versions of your platform into a range, and enabling this broader business awareness, all tied together across Stackwise, across Skillwise, putting it into a broader, what we call Riskwise, that brings all the information you need to understand your cyber readiness. And along the way, the types of partnerships that we're working to build and broader ecosystem that we're putting together are evolving from the underlying building blocks of the technology people are using to bringing in additional forms of content, from automated attacks to training content, and then starting to also bring in additional forms of risk information, third-party risk, and similar to help you get that holistic view.
Well, thank you. Very, very, very clear. So how far are you from that end state vision? I mean, end state, hopefully the product keep developing, yeah? I'm not going to say end state, but really the cyber range cyber risk management platform. I know a lot of developments recently have gone through that platform. So where are you exactly in the journey now?
Yeah, we're, I think, in the middle. We have some very exciting milestones coming up in later this year and into next year around the evolution of Stackwise and Skillwise. Stackwise is technically a beta product right now. We're looking forward to getting that to general availability and then continuing to evolve it. And then we're starting to build out a number of these partnerships. Along the way, we're excited to recently announce a partnership with ISC Squared in order to help our users get continuing education credits for their activity, and are building out partnerships around automated attacks and learning content as well. And then that innovative technology to duplicate your existing production systems is underway in our product incubation area of the company, with some very promising early results. That's going to take a little bit more time. We're excited to see when that is ready for customers to start to take advantage of.
Oh, great. And also some of your, I know that you do a lot of events or power a lot of games here around cyber games and attack and defense program, etc. So yeah. I know that you mentioned there are, I mean, there are some events in 2022 around cyber games, but not only, but I think something interesting that I see also is that a recent, you're going to be a partner on an event called Wicked Six, yeah, which is also promoting also women in cyber, which we all know that that's something really where the representation of women is, I would say, very low. So tell us a bit more around your involvement in those games, yeah.
Sure. So there's a couple recent events that we've been very involved in. The first was the Global Cyber Games, which used our range as the underlying technology to host the event, with teams from literally around the world participating in what we call a castle versus castle event, where they would have to defend their own area and go attack their other teams, along with dealing with automated attacks. It was a great way to help build some teamwork, have some fun rivalry, get a little bit into the esports experience, and I think was overall a wonderful event. Really, there's some interesting lessons that I think we learned and the participants learned, ranging from creative ways to approach going after their targets, to the value of investing in the proactive defense that can give you a little bit of leeway and time to start to investigate and respond. So we're excited to help make that experience a little bit more engaging. And then we're also incredibly passionate about supporting Wicked Six as a sponsor. We firmly believe in the importance of bringing as many different people into the cybersecurity community and making it a truly open and inclusive community. And so we think Wicked Six is a great way to do that. The event, I believe, went quite well, and We look forward to more occasions to help support both women in cyber and bring in other underrepresented communities into the cybersecurity world.
Oh, it's great to hear that. And yeah, the whole initiative around gamification of cybersecurity, I think that's definitely where the excitement will come, yeah.
For sure, yeah.
And the nice experiences, yeah, from employee, partners, customers, whatever. But I mean, if you don't package into a more fun way of really, and more, I would say, more creative way, because ultimately these kind of games, as you mentioned, yeah, they bring new ideas rather than the old click the next button exercise, yeah, which is far behind now, yeah.
Yeah, and I think particularly in terms of helping encourage more people to join cybersecurity, this is a great way to do it because they can see both what it's like. I mean, obviously in somewhat of a contrived setting, but some of what the skills and technology that they might be using are. And then also importantly, making sure that they see that people like them are participating in these environments and these exercises. And hopefully that can bring more people of all types into this ecosystem.
Oh, great. Well, I mean, I think it was a great discussion. We can go along, yeah, but I think at some point we need to stop.
Of course.
But yeah, thanks a lot, David, for your unfiltered and open, discussion. I'm sure that the audience will find it very, very first educational, yeah, because I think that cyber ranges are out there. I think people in the cybersecurity community know exactly the why, but I think also what I think has been great with SimSpace is being able to bring something very technical by nature, yeah, because I think when you talk cyber range, you already go into the dark zone, yeah, where it's techies and cybersecurity experts, engineers doing their stuff. But I think that the evolution of the platform, first of all, to be way more open, yeah, from an ecosystem perspective. Second, to bring the risk management lens into the technicalities, yeah, of really running those kind of exercise. I think that's really what made the difference for me. I mean, any closing note, David, for the audience?
Well, just simply thank you, Ralph, for having me today and for, again, including SimSpace as a hot vendor. We are really excited to be a part of that hot vendor ecosystem and appreciate the chance to share, as you mentioned, this exciting and often very technical subject, but our goal is to make it approachable to as many different types of customers as possible. And we appreciate your help in getting more awareness to the value of cyber ranges and cyber risk management platforms, and of course, SimSpace itself.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, David.
Thank you.